On this episode of Pennies Going in Raw, we interview LADE BACKK on OTCs, we discuss post-election market, and some swings of the week.
Hey, yo, check 1, 2. This is Flavor Flav in the building for the Atlas crew.
Atlas Trading, what the fuck is up?
There are traders, there are prodigies, and then there's legends.
We're on 4%, baby.
No way.
4% Buy the fucking dip.
Hey, who told me about IDEX?
Like, dude, what the fuck? Like, someone just made, like, a lot more money than me on my trade.
You find out life's this game of pennies.
Did you check the portfolio?
Pennies. The margin for error is so small.
I bet Warren Buffett never did that.
And they out there making money right now off of penny stocks.
Them two guys is putting in work to make y'all rich.
The pennies we need are everywhere around us.
Time to think big.
Pennies Going in Raw.
Featuring Dan, Deity at Dips.
And Hugh, honey. Produced by Vinny Strokes, baby.
Welcome to the Penny Stock Podcast presented by the Blazing Chronicle. Today is Sunday, November the 22nd, and pennies are back. I don't care what you say. It seems like, although we thought if Trump didn't get elected, everything would drop, but man, pennies do seem like they've been awesome recently.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, this is the type of market that we saw in like June, July, I feel like, and it's been nice.
Yeah, it's been nice either way. I mean, you could be shorting, you could be going long, you could be swinging, you could be scalping. It seems like just about all those are starting to work again. Not quite to the point where it's April, but like you said, to the June, July-ish area. And I'm actually feeling confident, like adding on dips now, especially with how much, like we referenced about a month and a half ago, a lot of these stocks are down 50% from just a few weeks prior. So I am feeling like a lot of these are at support now.
Yeah, 100%. And it's really good to see. It's really good to see the entire penny market being lifted and not just like a pop here, pop there. So it's been really fun to see, and I'm really optimistic from now looking into at least I would say really, I'm optimistic from now till I would say at least February, March.
Yeah, it'd be really nice if it lasted that long. Even when it comes to just the fact that SPY used to just be about green every day, but penny stocks would just be down every day. And now you're seeing SPY go up some days, down some days, but penny stocks are staying strong and they're not taking too crazy of a beating.
No, exactly. And that's really, and you know what the other great thing, I personally like when SPY stays inside a range because we know what's coming. You know, as traders, we can prepare for when SPY's coming towards that resistance. But when it's making those huge moves, yeah, it brings liquidity, but you know, we don't know what it's going to do next. So I personally like when it stays inside this kind of range and bounces between a range.
Yeah, I feel like when it does that too, it makes a lot of the personalities of the stocks that we trade a lot easier to read.
Yeah, for sure.
I know you've had some big days this past week. There were some larger caps that you played when it came to options, and I think one of them was Zoom. But you also had some big days on some other things, and you even took advantage of shorting some stocks that had some big momentum. Can you kind of touch on some of those?
Yeah. For starters, we're gonna put out a public service announcement right now.
PSA, bitch.
Yeah. I do not see any kind of edge inside trading EVs right now. If you were pick is different because that's a SPAC, but if you are going long one of the KNDI, Solos, even NEO, there's no edge unless you're purely a technical trader. But this is a bubble. It will burst. And somebody will be held holding the bag, okay? So this is the one time that we're going to say it. For the life of me, do not try and find a catalyst in NEO, okay? It's trading at 48 times revenue, okay? And it's trading at like 1,000 PE ratio, okay? And don't tell me Tesla, blah, 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 okay? They do not, Solo doesn't have Elon Musk. KNDI will never sell a car. Okay, come back to this podcast in 3 years. I guarantee you, KNDI, I will put my life on it. KNDI will never, ever sell a car. They're a scooter company that's down, their revenue's down 40%.
So you don't see like 10 years from now the streets of LA being flooded with solo automobiles?
Yeah, no way. What do they want to make that car like 20 grand or something? No way. That car's a piece of crap. They're never gonna let that thing on the street. They're never. And K&DI should just stick to scooter. You think K&DI, they're a $900 million company. Every chance that they get, they dilute that freaking stock. But you think they're ever going to make a car? They're never going to make a car. They release press releases about releasing press releases.
I think you might have misunderstood my question, which was...
No, I'm so pissed.
I'm so pissed. You've had some big days in the past week or so.
Yeah.
Apparently they weren't on EVs.
No, they were short. K&DI, I short that pig, and I will go ahead, run it up again, because I will short. I want you to. I want it to go higher so I can short that thing lower. Do it. Same with LI, XPEV, all of them, Solo, all of them. Oh, well, God.
You guys hear that? So this is the voice of a short. He's gone to the other side in the past couple weeks while we weren't recording, and. But could you kind of touch on maybe the Zoom? I know I guess we can kind of touch on the sector as a whole with the lockdowns happening, even in like New York and everything, and the stay-at-home Thanksgiving and everything that's going on. You know, you see the Zoom, and whenever that one went under 400, and everyone's expecting crazy from earnings, and I think it almost touched, or maybe it passed 440. I don't recall, but what do you think about those sectors going up?
Yeah, so I think obviously we saw. I'm just going to use Zoom as an example. Zoom went from 500 to 366 just on the vaccine news. Okay, we're not producing a vaccine. Even when we get an actual formulated vaccine, it's still going to take a while. So same thing. Buy the fear. Sell the news. So same thing with the vaccine stocks. We had Atlin, and she had a $94,000 day on those PFE calls. Why? Because she bought the fear when no one was looking at vaccine stocks and sold the news. Same thing how I feel about Zoom, Waiter, all of that. Now we're starting to see more lockdowns coming in, and I think the more lockdowns that we see, the more fear. I just saw an article yesterday that said that panic grocery store buying is starting to come back. So I wanted to be in first. Okay, there's basically we're just gonna ride everything back to where they were, you know. And if they go higher, great. If Waiter goes back above 5, fantastic. You know, if Zoom goes back to 500, fantastic. But the thing that will kill this sector will be, again, more vaccine news. So that's your risk right now, okay, is that if more vaccine news.
Yeah, and if you see that vaccine news, I mean, you may be able to buy that dip again until you get that final vaccine news. This is kind of what I was mentioning when I said I felt more comfortable adding on dips. Like Waiter dipped to 2.3 after the ER. Kern dipped to 2.6 after nearing 5. And TLGT, I mean, that had a vote being rescheduled, and it dropped around 48 from like 80. And you're seeing these drop around 30 to 50%. And like even with Kern and Waiter, Kern, it had to find that bottom. But I mean, using technicals, you could kind of find that out pretty easily. And now the weed stocks and the food delivery stocks, they're going up. And although I'm about out of Waiter by now because my average was so low in like that 2.5 range, and now it's touching 4 damn near. You know, but people are still very confident in what's to come on that one.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the biggest thing is just leave downside risk because we're going to, if vaccine news does come out, it will kill that sector. But again, that's just the dip that you buy, because until we have a vaccine, which could be honestly, a year they're saying? Is that what they're saying for like, till it's like widely distributed, like a whole year? You know, I think until we see a real actual vaccine that people can tangibly grasp at, I think that those are just going to be dips that we grab. So leave downside risk. The Zoom calls, I locked about half because we made some really good money on those. That was my, you know, those went up about, I had 4 different Zoom calls. Some of them went up 60% on Friday alone, and I think I finished the day at like 192. So I did lock about half of those Zoom calls. But What do you call it? It's touching that resistance point, and I think when it breaks through there, and it has earnings report on the 30th, so I think people are going to start running that up to it. So I think I think that sector as a whole is really good. Now to hedge myself, how many weed stocks are you swinging?
I only am playing Kern, and sometimes I'll flip some if they're like on the very low side. And with Kern, I just saw where the dip was. So like I said, I've just been playing these very small. I'm not swinging them too big, but I'm hedging myself also. I'm just playing it safe, making sure I'm out. And whenever that one, it broke 3 and started hitting 320, I really started scaling some out from that 260 range.
Nice. Yeah. And I started doing that, and I started accumulating end of December calls on a few bigger weed stocks. So that's really what I'm focusing on. I think that swings are going to come back pretty soon though, because we're not seeing pop and fails, which is really, we talked about earlier, which is a really good sign for the market or the penny market as a whole, is when we don't see pop and fails. We see pops find support, go higher. So I think that
just finding new legs up on all this.
Exactly. So I think that and I was talking to buy sell short, and he thinks swings are gradually coming back. That maybe the Black Friday boost will give us something, and then of course we have what's called the Christmas rally. So he thinks that after everyone comes back to work on Thanksgiving, that we will, the penny stock market will be hot for a good few months.
Okay, cool. So yeah, with the penny stock market come back, and hopefully it does last a few months, we do have some things to kind of get into, like with this week. So like you did touch on, you got some weed stocks, you got your food delivery stocks. And we even had some things like ADTX. It had some, some fluff news, not exactly the news they were looking for, but, it's a good time to take some profit on that when you knew it was going to kind of dip. But I made sure to reload, and I even used some of those profits to add more down here. So I'm still kind of, those are some of those swings that, aside from that one and VT, I'm not too crazy heavy in too many things. I've been trying to add some pick dip. Do you have anything that you've been swinging or kind of big into right now, or are you still kind of playing small?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely playing, like we said, is that I'm definitely dabbling bigger. Let's say that I had 20% of my portfolio on the street. Now I have like 30, which doesn't seem like that much bigger, but notionally, capitally, it is bigger. So I think
I was about 35, and I just increased to about 45, 50 myself as well.
Exactly. So this is the week where I want to start finding some more swings. I want to find some maybe bottomed out things, some things that we can really get our hands in and get to that 50 number. So I said I'm gonna, this is the week where I start finding swings, and I want to have some serious screen time, see how the market's moving, and then this is going to be what I call kind of like my confirmation week. And then after that, then we can start pressing it. And then we go from 50%, and then let's get a winner or two. And then from the 50%, that's when I'll increase it to the 65%. And then that's when, that's when we really make, December a sick month, the Christmas rally. So that's kind of that's my plan. That's what I'm hopeful for. Now, if all of a sudden we wake up tomorrow and SPY's, 320 or whatever, then we, but then we'll readjust and we'll say, okay, this was my confirmation week, and it did not confirm, and we scale back to that smaller amount. So that's kind of my plan.
Okay. With Black Friday coming up on Friday, and I planned this joke in advance. Are there any Black Friday cheap stocks you're looking to start swinging on a Black Friday dip? Yeah, mine is pick. I didn't expect that rally after the announcement it to go, $1.50. I don't want it to be like Fubo where it's at 9 and then it goes up every day, and I'm like, damn it, I missed out and I only got 500 shares when I should have got 5,000.
Yeah. No, I definitely want to get pick on it. I want to get more pick on a dip. I do want more WTRH. So I wouldn't mind if that dipped a little bit, because I do think that we're going to see a strong, because we just saw. So what we're seeing right now is like cities kind of shutting down, or they're taking a pause. So I think when that pause becomes a longer term thing, and they say, okay, we said, LA said that they're shutting down for a month, but when they extend it, I think that's when we see a huge rally by Wader and, Blue Apron and all those. So I do want to start accumulating more of Wader, but really it's going to be Pick and Fubo. I mean, I would love Fubo at 9 again.
Yeah, I would definitely like that one at 9 again too. Another one I kind of want closer to that 220 range is YCBD. I've been playing it, and it responds nicely to the weed stocks as well, but it doesn't have as severe drops over the weed stocks do. And I've been playing that one ever since Teddy let me know that one. So aside from those three, obviously things are going to change so much soon. Do you have any sectors you're kind of looking forward to running besides just the lockdowns?
Yeah, so it's lockdown, and like I said, we're hedging with the weed. I'm looking towards retail, but I feel like retail just had a big run recently. So I'm cautious. So I'm going to they're on my watch list, so I'm going to keep them on my watch list. But they love to run into Black Friday and into, Christmas. So like let's just say that Jill comes out with news that they're going to hire, let's just say 1,000 extra employees for the seasonal season. That alone can, heat Jill up, which heats up the entire sector. So, and then all of a sudden, another stock comes out with, they're expecting growth for the holiday season by 30%. I mean, those two things, if they come at the right time, can ignite the retail sector. So I'll definitely keep those on my watch list. But like I said, I definitely do want to start swinging some good stuff. Some, some things that, kind of like Rumble, something where their revenue's up huge, but the stock's down maybe because of offerings and, whatever, terrible management, because that really seems to be like our best plays is kind of, Wader was the same way. It was like their revenue was up huge, but the stock was down 86%. Rumble was down 96%, and their revenue was up 600%. So that's what I'm really going to be looking for.
Just finding companies with the cash on hand,
exactly.
With the catalyst upcoming.
Yeah.
Another nice thing about retail stocks is they really do run together. They run as like a nice squad of stallions. And, that's always nice. I used to always play RTW whenever I'd notice them running, but that's OTC now, back in the good old days.
I forgot about that one.
Oh, yeah. It's like RTW.X. It's something crazy now,
you know what? I forgot. I started accumulating puts on most of the EVs. So
I know you
don't
did,
hate
you
me.
did take a hit on that. And what kind of separates PIC from an EV?
So here's like we talked about earlier, is I look at PE ratio. Okay, let's just use KNDI because I hate their management. Their New York office is literally a WeWork. Okay, I called there. Okay, I talked to like 5 different people, and they're like, "Oh yeah. No, they rent a desk." And I was like, "Can you send me like a picture of what this kind of looks like?" And they're like, "Go on our website." I go there. It's literally like a freaking cube. A $900 million company, a scooter company, is claiming to sell cars. It makes me so mad. And their revenue declined 40% year over year, and this thing's up like 100-fold. So with PIC, I'm not going to make speculation because I don't know much, but they have real, their revenue isn't down. The revenue is not down, and their valuation isn't insane. You know what I mean? So I think that's what separates apart, is that looking at it purely from a valuation standpoint, PIC's valuation, where it is right now, is not crazy. Neo's trading at like 1,000 PE. Okay, that's just ridiculous. PIC is not. I don't know the PE off the top of my head, but I know that their valuation isn't crazy. So that's why I feel like they're actually undervalued, and they have a catalyst coming. So that's how I feel about PIC.
All right, cool. Well, there's proof that he's not shorting everyone's new favorite swing pick. So That is going to be it for the me and Hugh session. And now we're going to have on LADE BACK to discuss on OTC stocks. He's in Atlas. I see it almost every day. It seems like he has a 50% runner or 100% runner. And every day I'm like, fuck, why didn't I get in that shit? So today I'm going to try and convince myself to want to trade OTCs by talking to this guy. Hugh was actually asleep or just MIA for the interview, so it is just me and LADE BACK for this one. So kick back, lay back, and enjoy this interview. See you guys next week. All right, so today we have on for our OTC interview the king of the pink slips, LADE BACK. How are you, man?
What's up, guys? I'm good, man. How's it going?
Dude, it's going well. It's always fun to see you on your little Twitter tirades and your little bats back and forth with Zach. But you have been getting angry on Twitter a lot recently.
Oh, that's just that's just what I do.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta let it out somewhere. Okay, so but the whole thing of this is you're the OTC guy. Can you kind of give us your story? People love the trader story, so could you kind of give us your story on how you went from baby laid back trader to big dog OTC trader you are today on your Wolf of Wall Street?
So I mean, so when I was younger, like in my early 20s, I was actually like working at a brokerage firm, like as a stockbroker. And I wanted to, I liked it, but I just didn't want to do it, like trading other people's money, like making a commission off of it. And it was like tough at the time because it was like 2009, like right after the recession. So it wasn't like the best time to do that either, So anyway, no, I learned a lot, but then I ended up eventually just leaving. And, I started like trading on my own and just kind of like doing my own thing. And then, I don't know, I was trading on and off. And then like, I'd say like 5 years ago, I started like heavily trading again. And, it started out where like with the OTC stuff. At first I didn't even know anything really. I didn't know anything about it. I had a friend of mine was telling me about it. He's like, go to this website, iHub, and you could see all like the penny stocks and stuff. And these are like legit penny stocks. Like they're not legit as in like they're good, but these are like literally like micro pennies, so it's like super cheap penny stocks. So I was like intrigued by it. And I just started messing around with it. And I noticed I kept buying the top on everything. Like everything I was buying the top.
Every time.
Yeah. And I just like, I don't know. I didn't put a lot in to begin with. I only put like 2,000 at a time, but I kept losing it. I lost the 2,000 like 3 times.
What did you do in between being a broker and then after you quit before you started trading again in 2015 or whatever?
Oh, yeah. So in between that time, I did a lot of things. The bulk of that time though, I was working in like healthcare. I was working in the operating room, just like assisting surgeons and stuff with surgery. That's what I was doing.
Damn, you're a journeyman.
Yeah, it's just like all over the place, man. I've been doing like I used to sell cars, and then I did the stockbroker thing, and then I went back to school.
I thought you were gonna say I used to sell coke.
Well, my friends used to sell coke, so like.
Okay, so back after So anyways, back after your third failure in selling micro pennies, what was different the fourth time?
No, so here's what happened. So I was just like all over the place. Like if we go back, like I was all over the place. I tried to go to the Navy. They didn't let me in because of my vision and this and that. So it was like constantly always like trying to figure out like what do I want to do in life. And then I just got back into the stocks, like I said, when I did. And So I started focusing on that. With the OTC stuff, I liked it, but I knew like, at the rate I just kept losing money. Like I funded my account 3 times. And I kept losing. I said, all right, I'm going to do it one more time. But instead, this time, I said, instead of just blindly following something, I'm going to like really sit back and I'm going to find a stock that has like just a perfect story because I don't want to lose any more money. Like I want to find the best play possible. So I stumbled across this play that was, and keep in mind at the time, I like didn't know anything. So I believed everything 100%. So I stumbled across this play where they were going to build an Android phone. And all the DD lined up. They had like people that used to work at Microsoft. They had this guy that used to be the VP of GNC for like 15 years. They had him on the board. They had like all these people, and like all the DD was matching up, and like it was running like it was looking really promising. It was good. It was like 002. So I bought that, and I really believed the hype. You know what I mean? Like I bought a bunch of it, and I believed the hype. And I told my friends about it. I even told my parents. Like I told everybody about this thing. Like I thought it was like literally like I used to say like, oh my God, if this goes to $1 and be a millionaire. And it was just crazy. I really believed it. And then one day, a buddy of mine was just like, yo man, we're up a shitload. It was at like 3.5 cents. And he's like, we're up a shitload. Don't you think we should take profits? It's like, nah, man, like let's hold. He's like, I don't know, man. I'm going to sell. And once he sold, then I just sold. So then we took profits, and I watched from the sidelines. I watched the whole stock just tank and never come back. And that was right there. And then I figured out that I learned pretty quickly, like right then and there, I figured out that it doesn't matter what the story is. Like they're just all pump and dumps. Like that's just what it is.
Yeah. There's a reason the stock isn't even worth a penny.
Exactly. Right. So, yeah. So like, so I watched it tank, and then I realized, I started like going back to all the trades that I lost on, and I saw where I bought in, and I bought in at this spot, what I call like peak hype. It's like right when like everyone's talking about it, everyone's hyping. That's like the end of it, and that's where I was buying every single time before this. I was buying like the peak hype phase of everything.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of people's issues. Even nowadays on Twitter, they only see the stock whenever it's getting the most hype, and it may not even get hype because it's a good buying spot. They just see people talking about it, even though it just is up 200%.
Oh, well, that's why like you'll see me sometimes I'll post stuff. They don't like it now, but when it's up like 50% from here, they'll be chasing it, and that's like literally what happens every time. If you try to give someone a bottom play, they'll say, "What's the news?" or "What's the catalyst?" And it's like, if you want news and catalysts, you're going to be paying a lot more. That's just how it is. Like, it's going to be a lot higher when the news comes out. So, I mean, that's the game. But people don't like it. They rather buy it when it's up and everyone's hyping it up and everyone's talking about it. That's when they want to buy it. That's just how it is.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where patience is definitely needed for most of these swing plays. So after you kind of sat out on the sidelines, where did you kind of realize, like, how did you transition from there to get where you're at?
No, so then I did the next. I'm not gonna lie, I had like a super lucky streak in the beginning. So like after that, I decided not to like buy the dip on this thing. Like I sat out and I started looking for another play. But then I figured, okay, well, if I take my money, the stock's at 3.5 cents. If I move my money into a stock that's trip 3, which is 0003, for anyone who doesn't know, that I can get like 10 times the amount of shares, or like 100 times the amount of shares. I don't even know the math, but I was like, I can just get way more shares.
Yeah, you're just getting lucky on random OTC stocks, big gains.
But no, I was. But my thinking behind it, like I had a strategy that I kept. I would buy something and then I would go look for a super cheap stock and do it again. Like if I sold a stock at 3.5 cents, I wouldn't buy a stock at 5 cents. I would only buy a stock that was like way, way cheaper than the last thing that I sold. And I was looking for something cheap and I found something that had another good story. It was like when Brooklyn was like blowing up or whatever. And, this company had like real estate apartments and buildings, whatever, all this stuff in Brooklyn that they were collecting rent off of. I don't know. I forgot the whole story, but it seemed good enough. So I put my money in that, and that thing was like a 10 bagger for me. And then I forgot the third one, but it was like more or less the same thing. But after I hit those, I was back. The luck was over. I had a nice amount of money in my account, but the luck was gone. And then I was back to the same mistakes, like chasing stuff or buying tops and like just making mistakes again. Because now I had money, but I still didn't really know what I was doing, right? And then I just decided to like focus on charting. Like I've been almost from like the beginning. I spent my time focusing on charts, not DD. I don't really do DD. I think it's a waste. Personally, I don't do it. I think it's a waste of energy. I spend my energy with the charts.
Do you kind of feel like with OTC stocks, this is more of a waste of energy due to the fact that these companies are even shittier than most penny stocks?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So the thing with the OTC, the DD is different. It's like, you know, a lot of them are shells. They're shell companies that have like, they're waiting for another company to merge in. So the process will be like, you know, you'll have an empty shell that's got nothing going on. And then filings will come in that'll show that like the company's getting current. And then sometimes you'll have the company will just be revived, like reinstated and come back to life and start dropping news. Or sometimes you just have like a reverse merger type of deal where like totally different company will come in and then there starts the play. And that's the play. And then they run it up, they hype it up, they drop, they buy in anticipation of whatever's going to happen. And then once the deal closes and the merger happens, like it's usually up so much where mathematically it's not enticing anymore to buy it because
so you kind of realized that one, and then once you kind of noticed how technicals were in the OTC world, that's how you kind of steadily got to the grind of making profits where you're at.
Well, all the play is like, all right, so if you bought a stock in Trips and it ran to pennies before the merger happened, right? You're already up like 1,000 or 2,000% already. That's where the money is. So nobody, you know, if you're buying in after the merger at 3 cents, like everyone's already long gone. That's like how OTC is. It's like a little different.
Yeah, for sure. Do you kind of notice any major differences in between OTCs and just the regular penny stocks that most of FinTwit's plan?
Yeah, because I started going back on every single stock. Remember I told you I was buying, like I would buy stuff and it would just go down.
Yeah, you just never know.
I started analyzing, like seriously analyzing every stock that I was in and stocks that I weren't in. And I picked up on something and I realized like, okay, these all follow the same pattern. Like if you look at a chart, like they all follow, there's a pattern. And it's a lot to get into, but if you pay attention, they all have the same pattern. So I started like, you know, digging into the charts and focusing on like the technicals and trying to make sure I had a better entry and wasn't buying the top. And then I just kept building on that. You know what I mean? Yeah,
there's obviously so many differences when it comes to them, especially when it comes to, I think the major point of it would be just the volume in all of them.
Yeah, so sometimes the liquidity might be a little bit less. There's a lot of pros and cons. So like on the plus side, you have these like really low floaters that can run like 1 penny to 10 cents or like 1 penny to 5 cents in a day. Like the floats are so tiny that with volume, like they could really like make like massive squeezes. And they're also like really cheap. So sometimes it's like fun to have like millions of shares.
Yeah. I mean, on days like that, yeah, it truly does. Right. When people say like pennies are dead someday, whenever a lot of pennies aren't moving or they're just all going the wrong direction, they're playing large caps. Do you ever kind of see that with OTC where you have to play the penny stocks or have to play large caps?
Well, you make like $100 a tick. It's like, I mean, it's the same thing as having, I guess 10,000 shares. It's all the same really, but it's just like different. I don't know. But the thing is, with OTC is there's not a lot of information out there on these companies. So for the guys that like to know what they're buying, you know, what are the financials, none of that stuff really exists because of, like I said, a lot of them are shell companies anticipating a merger. So you're not going to have like financials and stuff. And then the ones that do have the financials, they, you know, some of them have like convertible debt or they just don't have the hype. It's a game of hype. It's all hype. So they're less liquid sometimes. Sometimes they're super liquid. And it's hard to like explain.
Yeah, especially like when those kind of hold overnight kind of things. Do you kind of notice those sell-offs towards the end of the day a little more?
Yeah, but here's the deal. Like if you stick to the high volume plays, I play some of the low volume stuff. because I like it and I know how to trade it. And sometimes I don't even tweet them. I just play them in the background. But because again, you can buy something at a penny, and if you just wait a few months, it'll be 10 cents or so. So it's cool as like a long-term thing, like to do on the side. But if you just stick to like the high volume stuff, it's literally no different. I don't see any difference. It's like, let's say you bought UAVS or something. Like, what's the difference, right? It's just a stock.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's more of like you always like you see sell-offs on Friday, like going into the weekend. Then sometimes you'll see them loading up, just depending on what's going on, and definitely sectors. Do you ever notice sectors running in OTC?
Yeah, so I've been using, so like over the summer actually, like toward the end of the summer, I was using OTC as like almost like a hedge, because I didn't want to touch the large cap.
Right.
And I wasn't really like doing options. I was winding down with the option, just because I was literally waiting for the election to be over. So in that time frame, I was just playing the OTC stuff because it's like in its own bubble. It doesn't get affected by the overall market. Even if people say it does, and they're lying because it doesn't. It's like the markets could be tanking. I know you go look at like an OTC scanner and you'll see like there's like 200% runners and like 50%, 80% runners. There's like tons of runners every day, regardless of what the market does. So I use it as a hedge, like when there's like uncertainty, or if you're waiting on a huge event in the markets and you're just unsure, or you don't want to really be trading or holding overnight or anything like that,
Yeah, if they can make up some shit, yeah. Yeah, I think that's why the technicals are so important. Are there any certain like chart setups or any indicators that you use that you just really prefer for OTC stocks that you can't live without?
With OTC, yeah, almost always. There's 2 days, and I don't know why, but Tuesday and Friday is a big. It's weird. It's like I wish I could tell you why. Tuesdays and Fridays are like the OTC red days, like where a lot of stuff would sell off. Friday, I kind of already know because no one wants to hold into the weekend. Tuesday, it's just weird. Like it's like it started as like a myth and it became like reality. This Tuesday thing, it's weird, but it's true. So
yeah, I feel like copying people's settings. I mean, it goes all the way into whatever you're doing, whether it be video games or trading or whatever. You got to find the settings that work for you. But in regards to obviously technicals being your main thing, do you only like day trade these penny stocks? Do you hold them? Like we were talking earlier, you were mentioning if you put $20,000 into one of these, you could have had millions in like just a couple days. So do you see yourself swinging any of these, or do you just really get out when you can because they're all just crap?
Yes and no. Like they'll still try to capitalize on like the Bitcoin hype or the marijuana hype. You know what I mean? But then there's some sectors that they just you can't do. Like for example, EV. There's not much EV stuff in the OTC because EV's like really new, and like you can't just show up out of nowhere. Like for example, like anyone could show up out of nowhere and be like, oh, we're doing Bitcoin now. Like any company could say they're doing Bitcoin, or any company could say they're doing marijuana, but it's a little harder for like companies to just show up and say they're doing EV stuff. So back in the day, like you had hundreds of marijuana OTC plays that came up out of nowhere, or like Bitcoin, same thing. Every day it was a new Bitcoin play. Right now with the EV stuff, I'm not seeing that much in the OTC like to do that. But yeah, most of the time, if it's doable, if they can fabricate something, because it's all like bullshit anyway.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I feel like just having something judge how many times it's mentioned on social media, like Twitter or FinTwit, would be good.
Yeah, like, well, I use, so the setup I use for like everything. I use it for OTC, for options, for big boards, for NAS, like anything. And it's just like an old school thing I learned when I was like working at the brokerage firm years ago. The MACD and RSI, that's it. And I know some people, they'll use like VWAP, and I use the SMA. So that's my thing. But that's it. The MACD, RSI.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like all the fancy indicators because it looks cool, but I don't find it to unless listen, everyone has their own thing, but it has to work for you.
All right. Well, while one foot's in OTC, the other foot is what I imagine in the penny stocks and some large caps. What have you been noticing lately in regards to how all that's going on, especially with after the election and everything, and now we're getting some of the lockdown sectors running again.
I see people a lot of times like they'll copy someone else's chart setup, or they'll put the same indicators other people have, but the most important thing is knowing how the indicators actually work and then making them work for you. So if you can't do that, then it's kind of pointless.
The past couple of weeks have been really, really good.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it just depends. It totally depends. So this is what makes OTC hard. This is what makes it hard for a lot of people. It's a game of hype. It's a game of gauging the hype. You know what I mean? Like it goes back to like when I first started, and I was super high on the hype of this like cell phone. It seemed like it could be legit, because I literally used to sit at home. This is important. So I used to sit at home and I used to say, okay, this company wants to sell, their plan was to sell the phone in India or whatever. If 1%, this is literally the mindset I would have as a guy who didn't know anything. I'd say if they sold these phones to just 1% of India, that would be like 100 million people or something, right? Then you do 100 million. If the phone was just like $100 or whatever, like I was calculating all these like potential profits that this company could make, and I was like, holy shit, that's huge, you know? And me not knowing anything and like sitting at home calculating like the what ifs, that's what made me hold. So with OTC, like if there's a new play or there's a new story and it has the wow factor and the hype, then it's easier to hold because you know everyone's jumping on it.
It was so shaky. I felt the same way too. It was going down, like the market was going up every day, but penny stocks were getting crushed before the election, and then right as the election happened, it was like, okay, everything's good again. So I mean, I guess it was just uncertainty causing just like weird sell-offs, and especially when all the penny stocks were like biopharmas and everything were in. Just no one knew what was going on. And all right, well, before we kind of wrap it up, for the people that made it through and don't know how to trade OTC stocks, could you kind of tell them what broker, what the hours are like, and then if they have any questions, where to find you?
Yeah, I use TD Ameritrade. You could also use E-Trade, Interactive Brokers. I think TradeStation. I think TD. Honestly, I love that broker. I use it forever. I just use it.
TD Ameritrade, I think, is the best one for OTC. I mean, that's what I've always had it for. I have a Weeble for some of these 3 a.m. plays, but I mainly just roll with TDA.
Yeah. By the way, I might as well say this on here. For anyone who has TD, you can call them up, and if you trade a lot, you can negotiate your options fees, like because they have a base fee. You can actually get the base fee taken out. Like right now, I pay like 50 cents per option, but no base fee. So, and you could also reduce your OTC fees to like $4 if you show them that you trade a lot. So I just figure I'll throw that out there.
Well, good info, man. And this is LADE BACKK on Twitter. He's in Atlas. I think he's got an OTC room of his own as well. If there's anything else you want to say, it has been great to have you, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I just have fun with you guys, with the FinTwit crew, with the Atlas crew, with everybody. I don't know. We should always be, everybody should always be learning, I started with OTC, but then I started like venturing out and trying to learn like other things. Everyone should always kind of grow, always try to learn like a little more. But yeah, no, I look forward to making money with everybody. Let's all make some money. That's the idea.
All right, man. Hell yeah. Well, let's kill it this week, bro.
Thanks for having me too.
All right, bro. Take care.
Yep. You too.